Alright, what's up guys, it's Zero here, and today I'm here to give you my first impressions of the cards in the, what should be the final Legion set, the set 21, Neon Messiah. So, without further ado, let's get to it. So, like usual, I'll go over cards that I think are good, and what I think about the cards, and what I think about, like, how those cards put together a deck and all that. That's just simple first impressions. Alright, so I guess since we're already at Royals, I guess I'll start with Royals. I'll do Link Joker last, probably just because that clan has the most stuff. Like half the set is Link Joker cards. I'll do that. So I'll start with Royals. So for Seekers, they got the Alfred Exeve, well, however you want to call him. The Alfred that legions with either Blaster Blade. If you have a full board, he gets +1 crit, and you can CB2 to search your deck to call any Seeker and give that unit cannot be retired. So you can give a unit the Garmor skill where they can't be retired and stuff. I personally think Thingsaver is just not a good card, so I was looking for any card possible to replace it. Alfred is now here. Alfred has, to me, replaced the skinny white chicken. The ability to just give a card resist is really, not resist, the ability to give a card the effect that they can't be retired is really nice in sort of matchups like Kagero, the Mirror, Gould, Shadows, anything that retires. Crit is nice too. Crit lets you push your opponent faster, or just hold them at 4 and just keep PG checking them every turn. So yeah, I think Alfred is just a really nice card to have. He just does a bunch of good things for the deck, and also being able to Legion with the OG Blast Blade is really nice too, because it means you're not as reliant on re-legioning Blast Blade Seeker every single time as before. That was one of the deck's biggest problems, was that both your good legions, being the Wingle and the Thingsaver, both ended up legioning with Blast Blade Seeker. So if you didn't Soul Blast them out, you at one point would just stop being able to Legion. And also because you can Legion with the OG Blaster Blade, because the OG Blaster Blade skill also works on Vanguard Circle, when you Legion, you can actually use the Blaster Blade skill to retire a card, so that's also just nice to have. So yeah, this card is just a really nice inclusion from the deck. Like, no matter what you cut, like even if you still like playing Thingsaver and you cut the Wingle instead, or Brutus if you're playing that, I think Alfred definitely deserves a spot in there. I think he's really good. The other triple rare is for the Jewel Knights, Ivan. I don't think this card's very good. He also is just crit, and then on play you can call his mate to Sword Me. Sword Me is pretty okay, but yeah. This card is there. If you're playing Jewel Knights, you probably do need a playset of him just because he has Legion as text, and his mate is pretty okay. But other than that, biggest problem in this card for Jewel Knights is that he's not Ashley named, meaning if you're on this guy, you can't use Miranda. And yeah, probably okay. Probably an okay card. I don't think it's very good, but yeah, it's probably fine for what it is for the deck. I don't think it's particularly amazing though. Salome wasn't exactly amazing. This thing is basically just a glorified Salome, but it also, you can call it grade 2, which is nice, and then it has Legion, which is nice. So that's about it. We got some double rares. I don't even know what these cards do, so I'm just gonna assume they're not that good. So let's just skip past those. Grade 2, they got, go over the Sword Beam first. The Sword Beam is the mate to the Ivan. On play, CB1 card deck for a Great or Lord Jewel Knight. So this is basically Tar2. It's Tar2. It's pretty nice for the deck. It's, yeah, this card, even if you don't play the leader, you will play some amounts of this in the Jewel Knight deck. So yeah, pretty good card. I think this card's actually really good. I don't remember what this card does, but it does something for Jewel Knights, and yeah, it's Soul Blast. It does something. It's probably an okay card. I don't remember what this card does. I don't really didn't really bother looking at Jewel Knights, but I'm sure this card's fine. This card is good though. The Proud Line for the Seekers. On hit, if you're Vanguard the Seeker, you can counter charge 1 and give a card plus 2k, and it works on Vanguard and Rear, which is pretty nice. So it's a counter charge, an extra counter charge for the deck, which is pretty good. I think this card is very nice, and you definitely do play some amounts of it. Whether it be a full playset, 3 of it, 2 of it, 1 of it, you're definitely gonna play some amounts of this card. This, I think, is this is a grade 3 searcher. Yeah, it's an option you can play. I don't think it's that good, so yeah. And then grade 1s, this card, not amazing. It's like when it boosts a Seeker, you can retire it to call a Seeker from your deck as rest. So it trades itself for a different card. It's okay, it goes to drop 2, so it says Legion up. I guess that's not the worst thing you could play, but I think there are much better grade 1s you can play. That's not this dog. Although there are other good cards that are, this is definitely a good card. This is a generic Soul Blast 2 draw card. It's not a part of any archetype as far as I know. So it's not a Seeker, not a Jewel Knight or anything like that. But it's a generic Soul Blast 2 draw one. Because I personally myself am not playing Thing Saver anymore. You don't need to hold soul for it, so this card is just an additional way to help you set up drop some for Legion, and it's a draw one, so it's really nice. This card is definitely played. I definitely think you should be playing some amounts of this card in your secret deck. This is the other option. This is also a Soul Blast 2 drop, but this one has more requirements. On play, if your front row has 3 or more secrets, you can Soul Blast 2 to draw a card. So slightly more restrictions, but the upside for this card is that it's on name, and it's a 7k, so it actually scales. I think it comes out of preference which one you play. I personally myself play the 5k instead just because it's easier to use. But nice thing with this card is that if you are in Legion and your mate is Blaster Blade Seeker, you only need like one other rear because your Vanguard counts as 2 units in the front row. So yeah, this one is a conditioned version of this. If you think the condition isn't that bad, you would play this card, but I think the flexibility of the 5k is slightly better. So yeah. But regardless, both of these are pretty good. Soul Blast 2 draw 1 card. Kagura wishes to have these, but they don't. So yeah, that really sucks. So overall for Royals, Seekers definitely got some nice cards. Jewel Knight's got cards that are okay. They're not amazing, not terrible. But regardless of how good they are, their cards, you definitely still play in both decks. Next up, Golds. Golds got like, honestly, they got 2 cards. There was a bunch of like pack filler for them, as far as I remember. There's like pack filler commons and rares. I don't even know what they do. But the important cards that they got are the Prominence Glare. So Heat Legions with the new Aglavale, which we'll go over after. His skill is that when a card is called from the top of when a card is called from your deck and you're in Legion state, CB1 discard a bluish flame to get +1 crit and the glory skill. Your opponent cannot PG. Your opponent cannot PG unless they also discard grade 3. This effect is not once per turn, so you can stack the crit on it. However, you cannot stack the guard restrict on it. So no matter how many times you use this skill, you could use this skill like 5 times, hypothetically, get like this thing 5 extra crit, but your opponent would still only need 1 grade 3 and 1 PG to guard it. So it's nice. It gives Gold an extra kind of finisher now. The biggest problem with this card is that it needs a bluish flame discard, meaning you actually have to play a bunch of bluish flames to facilitate this. So you'll probably end up playing like a playset of this, a playset of Percy, 1 core, and then 4 Zeniths. If you really want to make this card the main focus of your deck, you just go full on 12 bluish flames. I don't think that's optimal. I don't think that's very good, but I don't think this card in general is pretty good, but it's an option now. And the other skill is that once per turn, CB1, retire a Liberator to check that for to call a Liberator. So this is the core's second skill as well. So yeah, this card is the second skill is pretty good. I really like this skill. The CB1 to sack a card to call a card. It does proc his skill here to get the crit. So it's a nice synergy, I guess. It's okay. Glare is an option. Definitely not a terrible card, but I don't think it's particularly amazing either. And then next up is this Mate, the Regulation Liberator Aglavale. Really nice art, but not so nice effect. So during your turn, if your Vanguard is a bluish stone plus 2k, so he becomes 11k solo attacker, and when placed from the deck, you can Soul Blast 1, check out 5 to add a bluish flame to your hand. So the thing that sucks is that he has to be called from the deck for this skill to work, but the fact that he's a Soul Blast out without having to play shit like Josephus in your deck, that's just not good. He's a Soul Blast out, and the card, if he adds, and then it's still a +1 to your hand, and then and obviously the intended purpose of this was for you to use this with Glare to toss up this card fodder, but even if you use this card, call this card, you Soul Blast 1, you add Percival, you can just rewrite on the turn before to Legion to get the +1 from that. So it's actually not the worst thing in the world. I think this card is actually an okay card. It probably, even if you don't play Glare, this card would probably be a 1-of in your deck, because the 1-of slot in Liberators before this was like whatever you wanted. It was like Fallon, Escrad, Rainet, Galatine, a bunch of cards. I think this is probably your best 1-of at worst. But even if you don't play the Glare, this card's still an okay 1-of because he can still dig for Percival. So yeah. The mate is actually not as bad as people might say it is. There are definitely people saying this card isn't amazing. I think this card is actually pretty okay. Soul Blast, 3+, yeah, pretty nice overall. You know, nothing of value in grade 1 and grade 0. They actually did get a new starter, which you probably will play now. Is the Guido. So his skill is he has resist. That's the important thing. He has resist, and then if your Vanguard isn't Legion, you can CB1 put him in the soul to check out 3 to add a call a Liberator to your rear. So. In TCG it was CB0, it's a CB1 now. Game Studio is clearly sick of Liberators having starters that are too good, so they slap the CB1 on this thing preemptively to make sure this thing wouldn't get out of hand, but this card definitely is pretty good. Because a lot of times early on in the game, you wanted to use Agleveil on your turn 2, meaning you couldn't use the Wingle on the same turn as that, so you ended up just, the Wingle sometimes just ends up just sticking on your board the entire game as a 5k vanilla. At least this is a 5k vanilla with resist, meaning it can't die. And then they can also just change this up into some other card later when you need it, so. I think this is definitely now the new best starter for the deck. It does require you to be in Legion, so if you're playing a deck that has only 4 Legions, you might want to not consider this card just because it might actually just be a 5k brick on the board. But other than that, this card is a pretty good starter. I think this card's really nice and definitely at least worth consideration now. So that's it for gold. They got 2 new cards in the new starter, which is okay. Kagero got they got a new starter, but it's not as good as Conroe, so I'm not going to bother. Grade 1s, this card's okay. It's not amazing, it's not terrible, but it's kind of too awkward to make use of. Skill is on play, you ring up as a tradition, and your opponent doesn't have any cards in the same column as this card, Soul Blast want to countercharge too. So, looks nice on paper, but when you actually think about it, this card is really awkward in how you can use it because you have to nuke that column, meaning this card basically is only good at Paint Laser if you think about it, or unless your opponent just didn't commit anything in that column. Which can happen, but yeah, I don't think this card's very good. I think if you wanted a grade 1 countercharge, you play the old dude, this guy instead. Yeah, it's an option, I guess, but I don't think it's very good. Grade 2, they got this is the mate to the Great, the Neo Flame. On play, it just gets the skill. When something is retired, you can see if you want to retire something in the same column as it. It's not restricted to a name or anything, so this card is actually just generic. Relatively, what this card is it's a CV1 kill a back row, so it's okay. It's not terrible. It's not amazing. It probably isn't worth the triple rare status, but through my playing with this card for a bit, this card actually is not as bad as I thought it'd be. It's definitely okay. So it's okay, but at the end of the day, you're forced to play because it's the mate to the Great, and the Great is a good card. So okay card, only really has value because it's a mate to an actual good card. Got some double rare legions. These cards all suck. The only worthwhile card here is Overlord the Great. Legions with the Neo Flame. Once per turn, if you at the end of the battle that it hit a rear guard, you can CB1, and if you're in Legion, you can CB1, discard 2, stand it, and draw 2. And on hit, you can retire a card the same name as something on your Vanguard to retire a card. So the second skill means you can retire either a copy of the Great or the Neo Flame if you're in Legion to retire anything, which is nice. Definitely pretty cool interactions against Link Joker because you can like swing with like a copy of one of those 2, and then swing this into the rear, into the other rear, and then use a skill to sack the card just to clear off the front row to kill something in the back, and then you restand, and then you hit again, and the other column is also something with the same name, you can sack that off to kill off some other back row, which is cool interaction you can do. Probably don't do it too often, but that's just something that can come up, so it's definitely not a useless skill, but not a good skill either. And the restand skill is really nice because for CB1 to restand to get 2 extra drive checks, yeah, the skill itself isn't actually a plus because you dropped 2 to draw 2, meaning you don't actually go plus at all. But if you do 4 drive checks, you're probably going to see 1 trigger. I do say probably because there's definitely cases where you don't see a single trigger, but it's okay. Definitely the best first ride the deck has now, because before the deck's first ride was really all over the place. Newt first ride didn't feel that good. Pain Laser didn't feel amazing either. This card is an amazing first. I think the Great is an excellent conclusion for the deck right now. Very, very nice. And if you wanted to, and since this card is Overlord, Nate, you actually could try something with Breakride Overlord instead now, because you can go clear both rears with both restand skills, and then have it like something like that. So something up for consideration there. So overall, the Great is great. It's a really good card. Definitely really good. What else? Narukami, they got like 2 cards worth talking about. I don't remember the card skill, but it gets power, but more importantly, it has resist. Yeah, so you got C1 for that fire too, so that kind of sucks. But the card is resist, so you probably do play it. It's resist and probably scales really pretty well. The mate to the new Big Bang Knuckle, it scales and is an 11k attacker, so it's pretty good. And you're gonna play it anyways because it is the mate to the cross ride to the Big Bang Knuckle now. Legion CB1, put a Big Bang Knuckle into your soul to draw 1, give it 5k, and the ability to swing at 4 different cards for that turn. And it's cross ride with the original Big Bang Knuckle, so So you swing at 4 cards. So what if you use it in tandem with a starter, you usually swing like 2 front row rears, booster behind Vanguard, and it's a Vanguard. That's 4 targets, and then and the starter pops the 2 rear boosters if your board is a straight up full. But yeah, this card is just a full board wipe, so it's a pretty good card, and because it refunds the cost after you put in the soul, you don't go negative with the skill either, which is a pretty nice buff. So yeah, pretty okay. I think this is pretty good too. Definitely annoying. You definitely cannot overcommit against this at all, because you can't even something like Gormer can't protect you because he's attacking, he's not retiring by skill. So yeah, definitely a pretty good card. Will it make Naru good? Who knows? Probably make it better than it was before, that's for sure. So overall thoughts, it's pretty good. Pretty good. And I think that is the last plan in the set that isn't Link Joker. 2 Paladins, yeah. So the big one, Link Joker. They got 5 fucking triple rares this set. Half the set is Link Joker. Starters, they got 2 somewhat relevant ones. The Deleter one is really good. A Forerunner obviously resist so they can't pop it, and then when your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, you put it into Soul, which is good because the deck has a Gunic now. It has a Soul left to draw one now, so fuel for that. So in a Soul, you draw 1 back and countercharge 1. So that's very good. You get countercharge and you get draw. The starter cannot die. So going to Soul is actually relevant too. The starter is just really, really, really good. You definitely play the starter if Link leaders. And then the Brave Fang is now is also in the game. When tapped it boosted hit the Vanguard, if your Vanguard in Legion. CB1, put it into Soul to Omega Lock something. It's something you could consider. I don't think it's very good. If you wanted a resist starter and Starvaders, I think the Robin Knight is still probably better than the Brave Fang. So yeah, Link Jokers, the leader starter good, the Starvader starter not as good. Any new great ones? The leader's got a PG, which does matter. I'm pretty sure the grade 3 Legion is discard the leader. So yeah, it is discard the leader. So the leaders will play their PG. Starvaders will play their PG. Don't know this dude's name, but his skill is on. When I attack it boosted hits, if your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, you can lock a back row. So it's okay, it's back row lock. It's okay. It's not amazing, not terrible. It's probably something you do play because it is the leader name, and locking a back row is still not terrible. But the true best grade one is the Gunic. On play, so blast 2 draw a card. It is generic, so you can jam this in Starvaders as well. So yeah, definitely best grade one in the set by far. So blast 2 draw a card is good in every deck, regardless of if you need Legion or not. But it sets up Legion, it's a plus, it makes use of your soul. This card is just good overall. And they got the leaders got a bunch of other stuff. They got a vanilla, 10k attacker, garbage. But yeah, these are the cards of note. So blast 2 draw, lock back row, PG. Grade 2s, they got the Jail, I think is his name. On Vanguard Rear, on hit to Vanguard, if your Vanguard is the leader, Soul Charge 1, Counter Charge 1. So again, more Soul is good, so you can use more copies of Gunic. Counter Charge is good because the deck is relatively Counter Blast heavy. In the TCG, this was a generic on-hit Counter Charge 1, but they probably changed it to a Zoiton instead. Zoiton clone instead, so you couldn't put this into Starvaders. The Counter Charge there, but for the leader deck, it's very good card, very needed. Again, extra soul for Gunic. Counter Charge is always nice. So yeah, it's just the overall pretty good card. This is the mate to the Deleter Legion that I do not remember the name of, but this card is also really, really good. On play, if your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, lock a front row. It is completely free. If their Vanguard is upside down, you turn another card upside down. This card is very, very good. This card is absolutely amazing for the Deleter deck. And I'm surprised it's a double rare. I'm also surprised they didn't give this card a counterblast cost or anything. Yeah, this card is really good. And then another deleter card that's pretty good is the Clipping Deleter Evo. On play, if your opponent's Vanguard is deleted, CV2 to call a deleter from your deck that isn't another copy of itself. So it's CV2 to call any deleter from your deck. You can call a counter charge to make it CV1. You can call this dude to lock. You can call the Gunic to Soul Blast 2 to draw a card. You can call this thing for a booster if you need. Very versatile card, definitely a really good card for the deck. And then for the Starvader side, they also got generic cards like 10k. Deleters also got 10k vanillas and 12k attack or stuff like that. So yeah, other than that, Counter Charger and Locker are really good. For Star Raiders, they got the Astro Reaper, which is an absolutely amazing card for that deck, and you could even potentially splash it into deleters as well because this card is generic. Skill is on hit to Vanguard. You can Soul Blast 1 to check top 5 and add a card from among them with the same name as the card on your Vanguard circle. So if you're in Legion, you can add the grade 2 or the grade 3. If you're on a grade 2 Vanguard and you hit within turn 2 and call, you can add a copy of whatever you rode. And so yeah, so just Soul Blast 1 for a relatively cheap plus, assuming you actually hit off the top 5. And then he also has Resist, which is another reason why this card is really good. Resist means can't be retired, can't be locked. Unless it's a full board lock or full board retired, but yeah. Really, really good card. This card will definitely see play, considering his leader is actually pretty good as well, the Dark Zodiac, in my opinion. So definitely a very, very nice card for Star Raiders and maybe even deleters. This is the mate to the Venom Dancer. It's a Singularity clone, but it's 9k, but it requires your Vanguard to be in Legion. It's okay, it's not terrible, not amazing. The Galatine for the Blaster Joker deck, I don't think it's very good, but it's there if you're playing that deck. Yeah, that's it for grade 2s. Actually quite a bit of good grade 2s. And finally, grade 3s. All the triple rares are relatively good. Everything else under that is not so good. So I'll go over the leader cards first. First up is the Oz Keys. CB2 and put a deleter from your board into your soul. So again, he's fueling your soul to use more Gunix, which is really nice. To delete your opponent's Vanguard and he gets 10k. And then during your opponent's ride phase, if they can choose to discard a card, if they do not discard, they cannot ride. So it's like the Mega Colony effect where if you paralyze them, stuff like that, they can't rerun unless you discard a card as well. Pretty nice, forces them to go -1 from your hand to re-ride if you delete them. And yeah, just a overall pretty solid card, pretty good for the deck. CB2 is kind of expensive, but this deck does actually have hammer charge, so it's not the worst thing in the world. Yeah, overall pretty good card. And then the leader Legion, I don't remember the name of, Legion with the lock to do the lock stuff, and then on Legion CB1 discard a deleter to delete the opponent's Vanguard. And you also get this, and you also get that skill as well where they can't ride unless they discard a card. And then when attacking Vanguard plus 2k. Again, overall pretty solid card. You pay the cost from different points on Legion only. Something to note is that the Oz Keys can delete whenever. So if you can delete them, they don't. Let's say they don't ride again, they get undeleted, and then you can just pay the cost to delete them again. So yeah. But both are needed for the deck regardless. Yeah, both are pretty good. Both are pretty good cards for the context of the deck their decks. Next up, the Venom Dancer. Legions with the Singularity clone. The second skill, the Nebula Lord, CB1 to lock the back row. Assuming if you have something in the middle column, so either a booster when you're not in Legion, or if you're in Legion, you can just do it whenever because your mate counts as something in the middle column. And then other skills of End the Bell that attack the Vanguard. If you were in Legion state, you can CB1 to stand a rear per locked card your opponent has. So this is like a multi-attacker for that, which is like cool. It's actually pretty cool. You can like lock some back, you can lock 2 back row with the second skill, swing, and then like stand your front row. Pretty cool, pretty okay card. I don't think it's particularly amazing, but it's nice that that deck has an option to a card that actually multi-attacks now. Yeah, pretty okay. The card that I do think is really good though is the Dark Zodiac. On paper this card doesn't look really good, but in practice, when you actually play with the card, it actually performs pretty well. So Legions with the good mate, the Astro Reaper, so that's already something good going for it. It has a really good mate that you're gonna play anyways. On Legion, CB1 to Omega Lock everything. So obviously you need some way to lock your stuff before the skill can even be used, but aside from that, it's pretty good. On Legion to Omega Lock stuff, and then once per turn, you can CB2 and then Persona discard to lock 1 front row, 1 back row. This skill is super expensive. I actually think they over nerfed this skill quite a bit, because in TCG it was just this Persona discard with no counterblast cost, but now it's CB2 to do it. It's a way for you to lock if you don't have another way to lock, but realistically speaking, the way you want to lock and then Omega Lock is to break right Infinite Zero. So ideally you go you break right Infinite Zero on this, you lock 1 front row, 1 back row, and then you can use Photon or some other way, or if they already had a locked card on the board before, you relock the Palladium or something. You can lock with Break Ride, and let's say you lock with Photon, and then you Legion CB1 to Omega lock it. So their board is just stuck locked for, you get a full triangle lock for like 4 counter blast, and then last 2 turns. Which is, I think, actually a pretty nice play that the deck has now. So unless they're straight up play on lockers, they can't do anything about it because their board is locked for 2 turns, which is pretty good. Yeah, I think the Dark Zodiac is, from my early impressions, definitely the best tripware for the Star Vaders. And then finally, the Blaster Joker, the BJ himself. He legions with Photon, which is probably the best thing about it, because he legions with the mate you were already playing. If you were in Legion state, Slow Blast 2, Counter Blast 2, discard a Star Vader, and lock a Star Vader to lock your opponent's entire board and retire their Legion mate. And his other skill is, when attacking a Vanguard, you can put a copy of a card with the same name as your Vanguard into your soul to give him +1 crit. So, second skill, it's okay. More importantly, it fuels your soul so you can use more Gunix or more Astral Reefers. So that's actually pretty nice interaction. Obviously, they're intending for you to do this so you can fuel soul for his skill, but his skill is quite costly. Soul Blast 2, Counter Blast 2, and discard a card and lock a rear. The skill itself is okay, but definitely really heavy. I think overall this card is like okay, it's a playable card. For most lists, I see it as for most lists where you're not dedicating a game plan towards it, I see it as a one-up just because he already legions with Photon, a card you were playing anyway because you're still playing Garden Star. So yeah, overall, I think this card is actually, it's okay. It's like an okay one-up at best, in my opinion. So yeah. So overall thoughts on the set. I think everything is okay to good. I definitely think from initial impressions, I think the winners of this set are Kagero with the Great and Royals with Exceed. I think all the Link Joker stuff is okay. Actually, everything is just okay. But overall, I still think the set is bait because next set is probably the first set of G. The best card in this set is the Great and his mate, but those are rank reward. So unless you really want to play the other stuff in the set, I would just craft everything and call it a day. So yeah, but overall, I do think everything in the set is tier 2 or better now. Kagero, which is already like a tier 1 deck to me, just got better. Royals, which is already a tier 1 deck to me, just got better. Naru is a tier 2 deck, definitely got better. Don't know if it's tier 1 or not, but definitely got a bump up in what they did. Link Joker, Star Vaders just got better cards overall. The leaders I think are an okay deck overall, and Glare is a option for gold if you want to play it. So that's it for my first impressions. Let me know what you guys think about this set down below in the comments. Like and subscribe, all the good stuff, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.